All right, Christina. Um, I have a colleague who really believes he's nailed his brand.
Okay.
Colors, taglines, even got a voice guide, but he's still not really getting traction. And so asking for a friend here. What's a common messaging mistake from those who might really think they have their brand dialed in?
There's obviously some factors that might help to sort of set the stage a little bit more, but one sort of thing to confirm is how long have these things been in place, right? How long has the logo and the colors and the messaging been in place? Because you do want to give it a certain amount of time to understand traction, especially when it comes to brand and reputation. One rule of thumb is that whenever you start to get bored or sort of itchy about a brand or a campaign or things like that, that's typically when your audience is just getting to know you. So you have to definitely take a step back or have someone else involved that can look and say, no, you need to stay the course. Another piece I would say is I've seen a lot of people guilty of they think they're honed in on the message points or the content pillars or whatever it is they're talking about. But within a month or so, they start veering off point and they just start talking about things that they shouldn't be talking about. It doesn't mean you can't talk about trends, but if my point is marketing requires consistency in your approach. Maybe that's one of my key points. Well, I can talk about AI. I can talk about anything I want to, but I have to bring it back home to that point. So I feel like sometimes it's either not waiting long enough or going off the message too quickly because it confuses people. Another quick fix would be just to ask your colleagues, like not close friends that would tell you you look good no matter what, like ask some colleagues, some sort of business connections and say, hey, when you look at this, when you see this, what do you think this business does? See
Hmm.
what you get, right? So that's a great, way to sort of check in on the brands.
Okay, Christina, a business owner I know is getting leads, but they're failing to convert. She told me that often she's actually even getting ghosted after her
Yeah.
first contact with them. So asking for her here, what would you say is maybe one of the most overlooked parts of an effective lead nurturing strategy?
Yeah. So there's a couple things that you can implement or look at when you're doing this. First of all, you got to make sure you've got your personas and some understanding of the buyer's journey. So you, as much as you can, understand who you're talking to and then where these stages are when they engage or when they start to look for information, when they're researching. Because what happens is I've worked with a lot of people who are, sales focused. We talk about sales enablement, but what you're missing is those stages before someone is ready to talk to you. And those are opportunities to start developing a bit of a pipeline. So if you don't have any pipeline, you're not doing anything nurturing early stage, you're already missing out on some opportunities.
Hmm.
And it's just educational opportunities, helping people along the way. One of my favorite tools is anything that you can give your prospect to convince their boss to fund the project, whatever it is. That doesn't work for everyone. Whatever it is to justify the dollars, like sometimes those tools are really compelling. For me, I have like content checklists and if you're doing a webinar, the checklist, like things that are helpful tools. And this is something that people are going to search for, but they may or may not find me in that process or even need me, to be honest. But I'm
Right.
developing that early stage pipeline. And the other part is you have to test a lot of these things. So, you really have to, it's like email campaigns and like the subject line is the most important thing. Because if you don't open, who cares what's in the email? It didn't really matter. So
Right.
you really have to think strongly about that first outreach.
Okay.
And you might even want to figure out how to give people an opportunity to do something besides talk to you. It's harder to do that, but it can be done. Find something that someone can do because people have all the control. They have a lot of research they have AI, they have Google search. They can do everything they need. Give them alternates so that you're still there as they're going through that journey.
Yeah. How about, are there tools to help you sort of test the interactions and in your lead nurturing campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of tools. I mean, we use HubSpot a ton. We have clients who use both HubSpot and Salesforce. There's a lot of email marketing tools as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, basic A/B testing of subject lines is an easy one, right? It's frustrating, I think, because you really have to start at the very first thing. Start with that first thing. And email, especially, it's a long approach, right? You better have a 10-stage outreach sequence, right? And it better really be different. A one sentence tip. It has to really shake it up. I mean,
Yeah.
we're so all so sick of that stuff. It has to really cut through the noise.
Christina, I have a friend who is trying cold outreach for the first time. Emails, DMs, and even cold calls. And they asked me, like, why does this feel so cringy and awkward?
Yeah.
And so my question to you is like, what's one of the big shifts you'd recommend so cold outreach feels more maybe human and effective?
I think it feels cringy because I think it is.
Fair.
I mean, the fact is blindly calling someone or emailing them randomly to that you don't know them. It's an awkward sort of thing. And fortunately, it is a numbers game. There is great data that you can track and find out what's working and hone your campaign over time. So it's very doable because it's a numbers game, but you have to understand that you are probably going to, 95% of the people it's just going to be either annoying or it's going to rush off into something. I know friends even, who have done cold email campaigns with an agency, and they haven't done anything to elevate their brand prior to that point. And I just shake my head because they don't listen usually, but those typically don't work in my opinion. It's still a numbers game. But if even in a cold outreach situation, if I think I might work with you, I'm probably going to check you out. I'm going to Google you. I'm going to do something. I might look on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
That's where the brand comes to play, right? So
Yep.
having some images, having some articles on Google My Business, having some LinkedIn things, I don't need to see a millions of followers and engagement, but I need to see that you have something that makes you look real and professional and trusted. So I feel like people miss that because they don't have the brand as a component of it.
Yeah.
They want sales to be this like sort of isolated thing. And I just don't think it can be.
That's interesting. So elevating the brand, like sort of touching on kind of the online reputation aspect of this thing. Is that all part of the same cold outreach bucket?
Yeah.
Is that part of what you mean by elevating the brand is a better way to ask?
Yeah, and anytime you're using digital to do your outreach, you have to think that digital is a way people might look at you or find you, and whether it's leaving voicemails or whatever. I mean, I've done cold email calls and randomly get people, and I've even picked up some of those calls sometimes, not usually, but sometimes just to see what people have to say and how they approach it. So it is a numbers game, and it will work over time if you watch it and you keep improving it. And even when it comes to email, like to me, it's a 9-part sequence of communications. It's hey, here's what we do. Hey, here's interest. Hey, here's the success I brought my client. Hey, just real quick, did you know that this stat equals this? Like super short, one sentence.
Yeah.
You've got to mix it up. Because at first, really what you want to do is not get put in the spam box, right?
Right.
And so don't beat them down, right? Be genuine and kind and all those kind of things. And then add some helpful information to them. So they're less likely to put you in the spam box. But you're like, oh, just so you know, LinkedIn's this is working well for people. That's it. Oh, okay. I'm not going to put you in spam just because it was so simple. It was easy to digest. I just think you have to rethink how that is. But I think the brand will get you further for that.
Yeah. Reputation management kind of leads me to more of this conversation with that same buddy, right? He runs a service business
Mhm.
and he found his way to this cold outreach because he'd been trying social media and felt like it was a waste of time. Mainly, he wasn't getting engagement or traction. And so, again, asking for him, like, what would you say to someone who's trying to grow, but isn't really seeing results on social media?
Yeah. So, and I don't think my answer would have been the same a year and a half ago, but I am right there right now for this thought. So I think that unless you have a really large budget to use a large agency or a variety of people or interns or resources and things like that, I think you really have to choose where you're going to put your focus. And you have to say no to whatever it is, what other platforms, because you need to do some manual effort for it. So if it's LinkedIn, great. I would always encourage you to add Google My Business and think of it as a social platform. And then you can think of, whether it's a YouTube or Instagram, depending on what types of things that you have to offer, but really need to narrow it down to 1, 2, 3 things, because the more you put into it, the better it's going to be and the more valuable it's going to be, because nothing's worse than spending time on this stuff and you're broadcasting it everywhere, but all you get to do is feel good because you pushed something a lot of places, but there's really that ROI, the performance is not there. So let's just say, for example, you have something. The other battle is company page on LinkedIn versus personal profile. A lot of people have a conversation about that. But one way that could work, and it's different depending on the business, is okay, you have something really good content, right? So you recorded a video about how you're going to do something and solve a problem, or how you handled something with a client. Okay, you have a nice clip, you have some content there. Okay, take that piece, put it onto your company LinkedIn page, then share it with comments to your personal page, and look for opportunities to tag the company you're talking about or add any other tags in there that make sense, make it more engaged. And I would encourage you also to manually send that to a couple friends and ask them to engage for you. There are groups where they do that. That's the sole purpose of them. But take that experience and elevate it. Don't stop there. Now, if you go back a couple steps, you've got that core content. Let's say it's 5 minutes of conversation about what you did. Export that, ask AI to help you, and write a blog article about what you just did. Okay. Post it to your site, create a new post about that, just linking to the blog. Okay, that article, put it on Google My Business, because somebody will see that searching for you for some reason, right? They're going to visually see it. They may not even click to read it. They're going to visually see that you wrote something to answer a question. That in itself has value. Then maybe you want to clip that video, put it on YouTube, or you want to use it on Instagram, just depending what your audience is. But find something of value and find 10 ways to use it. That's what I would strongly encourage, because unless you have a lot of people or money for certain things, I don't think you can do the platforms like that. Then the last piece of that I will say is understand what you mean by value. Like, do you expect to get a lead from a social post? If you do, then think about that way.
Yeah.
If you don't think about what you do expect, I'm a big person that talks about sales enablement, right? So if I have something that helps me get to a trust level with a prospect faster, that is a win for me with social. If it closes something faster, that's a win as well. Another opportunity for companies, and this will be the last sort of piece of this, is that let's say the company does post something, right? Maybe it's from the owner or whoever. There's a small company, a couple people, ask them to share it with their own comments. Maybe it's once a week and it's annoying, but just go through it and try it for 2 months and see if you noticed something different. Like and you really have to measure different things. Like, oh, did somebody say, oh, wow, you guys sure are doing a lot. You look good.
Yeah. Do you deploy kind of top, middle, and bottom of funnel strategies in your social media?
Yes, but I will say that funnel looks very different lately. I think it's that the top of the funnel is just really wide. People searching, like people asking AI for help with things. AI might cite one of your resources without them really even knowing you were the one that provided that resource. So it gets really fuzzy.
Okay.
And then you've got people bouncing around. So that's why back to giving lead magnets and resources and understanding that journey.
Right.
Because if there's a point where they don't know they have a problem, you need to speak to them in that way.
Hmm.
If they know they have a problem, they don't know where to go, you need to speak to that. If they know a couple choices, then you need to elevate yourself against competitors. You
Yeah.
really need to understand that journey a little clearer.
All right, Christina. So a founder friend of mine asked me, how much should I really be spending on marketing each month? I think it's a question many of us have wrestled with. And so asking for a friend here, what's your honest take on budgeting for growth? I would say, especially when cash flow might be tight.
Yeah. And I usually put this in a couple stages depending on where the business is in their growth in their life, basically. So, I mean, general rule is 5 to 15% of your projected gross revenue, right? So that's a number that you can start to think about, and maybe it makes you feel uncomfortable or whatever. Like that's where you can start.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I work with people who are just starting the business. They're just getting some of their assets developed. They're working through these. And my opinion is that you need to put a percentage down so that it can grow with you and you're not having to think about that point, when do I start spending on marketing? So if it's 1% of your projected gross revenue, that could be a really tiny amount, but then you start looking at what is marketing, what are the tools that I need, and you can start putting money into those things. I mean, it could be a platform boost. It could be graphic. It could be a graphic designer that just does some graphics for you. You need to get in the habit of spending for marketing. It's writing, it's design, it's website work, it's emails, it's social media, it's boosting ads. There's so many things. You're going to find something that you need to put it in, and then that will allow you to grow, even if it's your cousin's kid. There's just a lot of opportunity to get help with marketing. And I think you just need to get in the habit of that's how we do the business. So.
Hmm. That's a little bit off topic though. I run into a lot of small business owners who are just boosting posts and feel like they're running ads. I guess I'm curious what your thoughts are on doing that versus proper ads that are designed and tested and those things.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the budget question. So if you're just putting 10, 20, 30, $40 a month into some things, I think boosting is fine to see what happens. One of the best things you can learn from boosting is what people engage with. So right now you post something, you'll see that a certain post does well within your own community, which might be quite small. But when you post, you can actually see, of the 5 things that I posted, which ones resonated the most. I actually would think that would be the most beneficial, is actually testing, because the truth is, unless you're converting to a lead magnet landing page or something else you're giving, or if you're selling something very specific, that's a whole other ballgame. I do mostly B2B, but B2C, like, that's different, and that might work. But people are doing it and they're still not measuring. Like, I know you've seen that too.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
they're doing things because it makes them feel like they did something, but the measurement's not always there.